Hello, this is Brian. Today is Sunday, October 22nd, 2023, and I'm here in a tributary canyon of the Kern River. And I want to do a spotlight on shrubs video today. And this is a species I don't get to see very often until I come up towards Kern and Tulare counties. I'm in Tulare County right now, and I'm along Highway M50. So today I want to focus on California Yerba Santa. This is Eriodictyon californicum. This is a small to sometimes medium evergreen shrub right here. And the Yerba Santas have had some controversy in their family placement. So traditionally these were in the waterleaf family, Hydrophyllaceae. Then that family was merged into the Boraginaceae, the borage family. Now, some botanists consider these as part of the Namaceae family, the Namaceae. It's another batch of related shrubs that were in Boraginaceae and split into the Namaceae. So I'm going to keep this as either Boraginaceae or Namaceae, depending on the majority of the people who classify this. But this is yet another species of Yerba Santa here in California. And it's very similar to a species that's in Southern California called the hairy Yerba Santa, which is Eriodictyon californicum. Very similar. I did a spotlight on the Laguna Mountains hairy Yerba Santa, Eriodictyon californicum variety lanatum, and you can see that video for a little bit of comparison. Now this one is a little bit further north here in California. I believe this goes up into Northern California as well, but it's definitely here in Central California where we are. We're close to 36 degrees latitude, and it doesn't grow much further south than this, maybe in parts of Kern County. But again, we have these kind of dark green top leaves that are kind of shiny due to a lot of the resin factor, the resinous nature of the leaves, which is pretty common in Yerba Santas. As you can see here, I'm going to get a little bit closer. Right there, you can see it's kind of a shiny medium to dark green. And then the underside is a lighter color with patches of white. And it looks like some maybe some very slightly sparse trichomes or very slightly sparse hairs, but not very conspicuously hairy. Not as white underside as a lot of Eriodictyon californicum. And they like these disturbed areas here in chaparral and open spaces, sometimes near woodlands and forests. But like a lot of Yerba Santas, disturbed areas tend to be where this plant's proliferating. In the springtime, we get these clusters of white flowers. Obviously, it's autumn, so I can't show you those. But they turn into these little seed capsules that have these little tiny seeds in them. And you can see the relationship to the Boraginaceae and the Namaceae due to these type of inflorescence structures. So this can be locally common along the sides of roads, highways, trails, open spots in chaparral and woodland, because they like to be out in the sun, and they're quite drought tolerant being out here in this very sun-baked land. So I'm going to go ahead and get a couple of quick pictures, and I'm going to go ahead and get ready to close this out with a couple of final thoughts. So, let's look at a couple other features of this plant. The upper stems have a kind of a reddish-brown twig color. Let's see here. You see we've got kind of a brownish-red twig color, and eventually comes into this grayish-brown bark that later on sometimes gets kind of fibrousy or kind of fiber-like or sometimes slightly furrowed. And then it gets more woody as you go down. not as woody towards the top of the plant, but this definitely forms wood. And it's a very important member of our chaparral community. And it's one of the first native plants to colonize after disturbance and fire. So having this plant around is very important because it is one of the early stages of the succession after fire and major land clearing disturbance. So seeing this plant around is definitely very important. Now I believe this one was used also for tea, because some of the Yerba Santa species were used for teas, sometimes for healing ailments and sometimes for quenching thirst. And this one I believe is one as well. I'll have to do a little double checking on that to see if this plant was used as prominently as some of the other ones I've seen. But I believe this plant was also used as a Yerba Santa tea. And it's quite a nice dark green shrub, and it forms these colonies, especially since this area's been repeatedly disturbed. You can see these young shoots coming up. Some of these might actually be connected by the same root system, maybe. But some of these might be also individuals. And they can very heavily colonize open sites and sometimes form a lot more densely populated patches than that. And then we got a few more down here as well. Once we get into the more closed-knit chaparral communities, they'll become a little bit less conspicuous and less likely to be found, as this area seems to be of an area that's relatively less disturbance. And I don't believe these are very long-lived plants, because eventually the chaparral comes back. In certain areas, the chaparral will come back and take over. Now these can get a good few feet tall. I've seen them about as tall as 4, maybe 5 feet on occasion. Usually they're quite small shrubs, but they're definitely something to look out for if you're out here hiking in the lower elevations of the Sierras. Very highly recommended to check out this plant. California Yerba Santa, Eriodictyon californicum. So I want to thank you for watching my spotlight video. Hope you found this one informative, interesting, and helpful in identifying yet another species of shrub growing here in the Golden State. See you on the next episode.